The time is now 6:30 and a quorum being present, I call this meeting to order. We have a full house, so I ask for as much silence as you can possibly muster. It's very difficult to hear when there's talk going on in the audience. I'll get right to it. Agenda, actually, before I get to the agenda items and the approval of minutes, one quick announcement is that we have three applications that are being continued today. That's agenda item I, J, and K. Agenda I and J are the major land disturbance and the public hearing notice of intent for 600 Woburn Street. So if you're here for 600 Woburn Street, we will not be discussing that tonight. The other one is public hearing notice of intent and land disturbance permit. This is for Marburg 1777 Main Street. That one has also been continued, or they're asking to continue. So we will not be discussing that one tonight either. Are we all clear? All right. With that out of the way, the minutes to approve, we have the June 24th, 2026 meetings, meeting minutes. Do we have any discussion on those?
I thought they were fine.
Seem pretty straightforward. Hearing no discussion, could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
All moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. And now agenda item A is this is a public hearing, request for determination of applicability for Ekaterina Tutseva, 41 Babbitts Road, Assessors Map 9, Lot 49. Is there anybody here for that? I ask that you come up to the table and introduce yourself for the record.
Hello.
Hi. So if you just want to sit down and, I need you to introduce yourself for the record, and then you can explain what what you plan on doing.
Okay, my name is Alcir de Souza. I'm the owner of AC Stonework. The company is going to provide the service for this house. Over there, we're going to build a patio at the backyard. We're going to remove the existing asphalt walkway and replace with the pavers, and also planting 26 trees.
Wait, are we talking about the right one? This is 41 Babbitts Road?
Yes,
I thought this, oh, no, you are totally correct. I was looking at something else. I'm sorry about that. Please continue.
yep, okay. And they have like a old shed back there. They want to take it away, put a very small one, 10 by 12. And also the asphalt replacement in the front of the house, and the existing farmer's wall on the end of the wall. The car hit the wall. We're gonna rebuild that section. That's why you're applying for.
All right, so I'm curious about how far away from the wetlands you are. We don't have a wetlands map. The work, I believe, so there's, looking at the aerial overview, there's the house, I can see the driveway. There seems to be like a, I guess, like a sandy dirt lot right there. The wetlands are a little bit further past there. And do they also go around the property in any way?
No, not the only thing that we're gonna do that's not existing right now is the patio, which is gonna be 17 by 17, and it's gonna be like 20 feet away from the house.
All right. I just wanna.
Where is the existing walkway that you're going to remove? I can't see that.
The existing walkway, if you walk in from the front of the house, is in your right side by the driveway. It's a very short, like 2.5 feet walkway.
Oh,
They
okay.
have red bricks there right now,
Oh, I see.
and that's going to be the same. The pattern is not going to change. It's just the only thing is going to change the material from red brick to pavers.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm just looking this up on Mass Mapper. All right. I mean, it seems like it's a fairly decent sized increase in the driveway, but it seems pretty standard. You're just adding, walkways. It's pretty, besides the driveway, everything else seems to be, fairly small, impervious surfaces and stuff.
Yep.
I don't have much concern over this. Does anybody on the commission?
We'll probably get the phone.
Does anybody have any questions or comments from the commission? Not hearing any, so
Questions?
I'm going to read out some conditions, some special conditions. So, conditions include, the applicant shall install and maintain perimeter controls around the area of work to prevent the deposition of debris into nearby resource areas. Perimeter controls shall remain in place until all areas of erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. These controls shall act as a limit of work. No equipment can be stored or worked on past that point. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent shall inspect and approve of the installed ESCs. And then upon any approval, the applicant is required to obtain certain permits from the Department of Public Works prior to starting any site work. All applications are subject to review and approval by the Department of Public Works Engineering Division. The applicant may be required to obtain the following permit from the DPW prior to construction, though this list is not exhaustive, and it just lists physical alteration permit for driveway improvements. Are you comfortable with all of that?
Yes.
All right. So with that being said, this is a public hearing. If there's anybody in the public who would like to get up and make a comment, now is the time to do so. I am not seeing anybody rise, so I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Agenda item B is a public hearing, request for determination of applicability for Crystal Nugent, 72 North Billerica Road, Assessors Map 4, Lot 67. Is there anybody here for that? Could you please come up and introduce yourself for the record?
Good evening, board member and everyone in the room. My name is Crystal Nguyen, and I'm residing at 72 North Billerica Road. I'm here this evening to respectfully request approval for converting the existing lawn to paved area so we can extend the driveway, the residential driveway. As you know, the North Billerica Road is a local major connector. It's very busy, and the traffic is very heavy and continuously like a lot of vehicle pass by, and then there's no so the boat. Sorry, I was. So the boatway we cannot park, and it's prohibited and unsafe for the family parking. So sorry. Because on, the visitor and then deliver vehicle and additional family have no safe place to park since the prohibit. So our current this expansion will ensure that all family and gas vehicle can park entirely off the roadway, helping keep North Billerica Road clean and unobstructive for daily traffic and allowing emergency vehicle to pass safely when needed. Thank you for your time and consideration. I ask for your approval.
All right. So thank you for explaining that. I guess my issue for this is that these are fairly new houses.
Yes.
And when we approved these, if this driveway was proposed when the houses were being built,
Okay.
I think we would have had a lot more pushback about the size of the driveway. Now, with that being said, this commission is typically not trying to prevent people from building stuff that they want to build on their property. So I'm not saying, it's not like I'm saying, oh, I don't think this should be built at all. But I am concerned that how close the sketches appear to be going to that 25-foot no disturb zone. It seems like based on the sketch you provided and the original as-built from the development, you want to go pretty much all the way up to the 25-foot no disturb zone. And so I guess I would like to see something on the sketch showing, how much more you want to go out, basically the area of the proposed driveway and how close it actually gets to that 25-foot no disturb zone perimeter. It gets very close because I don't want to approve something that's so close to the wetlands that we know what you want to build and you know what you want to build, and whoever does the pavement project is going to know what you want to build, but those are three different things that might not be where everybody thinks they are going to be. I would hate to see you go, oh, I think it's right here, and then they go a little bit further than that, and now you're in that 25-foot no disturb zone, and that's a much bigger problem if you enter that without our approval. So I'll open it up to the rest of the commission. I would like to see some sort of dimensions on this driveway, kind of, showing exactly, hopefully pulling it as far back from the 25-foot no build zone as you feel comfortable doing, while still maintaining all of the parking and, stuff that you want to do. But just giving a general idea about the area and where that 25-foot no build zone happens on the sketch that you provided, whether it's 2 feet, whether it's 6 feet, whether it's 6 inches. I think some sort of idea. You're very, very close to those buffer zones. I'd like to see some more
Details.
detail about it, if that's okay. And
Mr. Chairman, I agree. We need to know what the increase in square footage total of impervious surface, i.e. the driveway, and it needs to be clearly defined
Okay.
on, this is going to need a little bit more.
Yeah, and you have the as-built, I would print that out and just put the sketch right there and, so we can see it, overlaid on what's currently there. Because if I remember correctly, actually, never mind. I was going to say, this is the as-built, so we know what's there. So it's that gives a great representation of where you want to put the driveway, and we can just know where it's going to happen. And before I go on, I'm not sure if you ever introduced yourself. Could I just have a name? Yeah.
My name is Alan Tran.
All right, thank
The
you.
brother-in-law.
Yeah, just for the record.
Yeah, he's one of the homeowners as well,
All right.
so yeah.
So, and also, this house, you're entirely in the 100-foot buffer zone. There's a tiny slice of your property that's not in there. So if you have any other project plans that you are considering right now, like even a shed or like a patio, I would suggest you also put that on these plans. And if you want to move them in the future, like, if you're going to do this driveway right now and the next, if we approve this and you're going to get the driveway done right now, these plans last for, these applications last for 3 years. So if you want to put a shed in 2 years, you'd be able to do that. With that being said, maybe you have, put a shed on the property, then you decide you want it somewhere else, you can just come back to us for a minor modification and say, I'm moving the shed 10 feet over, and I don't see why anybody on this commission would have any issue with that. It's a shed, so I would just, to save you time and stuff, pretty much anything you do on your property is going to have to be approved by this commission. So, if you can do it all in one go, if you have plans to do anything else, I would just suggest that you don't need to do that. If you put something on the plans, it's not like we're going to require you to put a shed or anything. You can choose not to, but at least you have that ability to do
So
it.
I can add additional to the,
You can propose whatever you want and
Oh,
put
okay.
I just bring it up because I don't see a shed on your property. Most people have sheds. So if you want to put a shed somewhere, draw a square, say it's 100.
Oh, okay.
You get automatically, any shed 120 square feet or smaller, you have, by right, you can do that. You can go bigger, but it has to be approved by us. So I would just, if you want to do something like that, or like a patio, put it down. It doesn't have to be an exact, sketch of every single brick or anything like that, but general, where it's going to go, the width of it, how long, the walkway might be. Put that on the plan. I don't see anybody, I don't see why anybody would be upset about something like that. We don't want to stand in your way of doing something on your property, but just to save you time, put it down in one plan, and, if you
good to
want to
know.
change it later, you can, or you can just choose not to build it if you,
so we want to add the gazebo, is this a good time to add it in as well?
yeah. I would,
What about fences? Do we need to put it on the plan?
yes, a fence would have to go on the plan. Our big thing about fences, so outside of building code, I don't know the exact stuff. We just need it so it doesn't prohibit wildlife movement.
Yeah.
So that typically means I forget if there's an exact dimension, but it has to be raised up off the ground a little bit. So, you're in the wetland, you're very close to the wetlands. If a turtle wants to walk through your yard, you have to allow that wildlife, transit through your property. You can't prevent them from walking.
And how tall the fence?
That's a building code
That's a building-
thing. I
okay.
think it's 6 to 8 feet tall, but don't quote me on that. We can't, that's out of our jurisdiction, the height of the fence, but where it is in the, 100-foot buffer zone, it just needs to be approved. Again, a fence is a pretty standard thing. I don't see why we would, have a big issue with that, but,
Got it.
so if that's all set, I am going to recommend that we continue this. And so the next meeting is on August 12th. If you feel comfortable coming back to that meeting, if you can make these dimensions, put everything you want to do, you're welcome to come back to that. I will actually say, I'm going to entertain a motion to continue this to the August 12th meeting. If you don't have everything set by that time, just call Town Hall and say that you'd like to continue it, and we'll automatically continue it to the next meeting if you're not ready to, talk about this again.
Okay.
But you're still on the agenda. We're just going to continue it to the next meeting, if that's.
So I don't have to upload anything to the website? I just bring everything here for the next hearing?
You'll have to provide us with the new files,
Okay.
whether that's electronically or, you can print it out and provide 5 or 6
Okay.
copies of it and stuff.
Got it.
But, yeah, either one you prefer. Electronic copies are easier for us. I would appreciate that, but it's up to you.
Okay, Sounds
All right. So with that being said, unless there's any other questions or comments from the commission, I will entertain a motion to continue this request for determination of applicability to the August 12th, 2026 meeting. Do I have a motion to that effect?
We need to close the public hearing first, I believe.
I haven't even technically opened it, or it's now open. I'm not going to close the public hearing
Okay.
until the next meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So on your motion to continue, I will make that motion.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you guys
Thank you.
back. Agenda item C is public hearing, request for determination of applicability for Jordan Kinsella, 15 Ponderosa Road, Assessors Map 94, Lot 373. Is there anybody here for that? Could you please come up and introduce yourself?
My name is Jordan Kinsella. I live at 15 Ponderosa Road.
All right. Could you please explain what you plan on doing?
Yeah, so I have an existing smaller driveway. It's two cars, and I'm looking to essentially have a drive path to the side of the house, right to the left of the house if you're looking at it, basically up to where my fence line is.
All right. So I'm not sure if you just heard that last discussion, but
I did.
similar issues that I can see. So my understanding is that the buffer zones are not as close, so I'm actually not as concerned with your driveway.
Yep.
And I think there's enough room there that if you want to hammer out the dimensions of the driveway right now, if you're able to, like, I would just, like, and feel free to jump in here, anybody on the commission, like, you have the aerial view showing the general location. So like from where your driveway meets the road, the cul-de-sac right there, like, you're not going all the way up to the road. It's
Correct.
How far back do you think that is?
It's probably about, I would say, 4 feet or so from the road.
So 4 feet from the road. And so if you are from 4 feet from the road, you're looking at your house, walk 4 feet from the start of the driveway, and then 90 degrees over, turn 90 degrees, how far do you plan on, how wide would the driveway be from that point?
The width of the driveway was just going to be for one car, so it would be like 10 to 12 feet.
All right.
I would like to stretch it to the 12, but if I had to come in,
Does anybody have any opinions about 10 or 12 or 11?
So you just
feet?
want this to go all the way to your backyard? Is that what you?
just to the fence along the side of the house, and then the backyard would remain the way it is. It's not going up.
So like the purpose is so you could back right up to the fence and unload things?
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 kids, so I do want to get a camper and that would ideally be a spot for it.
You kids don't want to ride the bike up the giant hill right there?
No, I don't think so. Maybe down.
So, all right, so from 4 feet and then 90 degrees over, I'll say 12 feet unless anybody has, an opinion about that.
I think we got the room there.
Yeah, it seems like, it's far enough away. I've unfortunately run around this road quite a bit.
Yeah.
So you're close, but you have some wiggle room and stuff. So from 12 feet, and so 12 feet, and then how far back is it to your fence?
I had someone quote it. They said it was about 60, but that's from the start at the road. Well, not at the road, but the 4 or 5 feet back from the road.
All right.
I think it's longer. realistic, I don't think it's that long, realistically.
All right.
That sounds long.
Yeah. So if you're going, you're
It's
planning.
to the back corner of the house, essentially.
Yeah.
Is where it would end.
So you'd be going, I just want to get some rough definitions on these. So if you're going to the fence, I guess, to just talk about this, so one of the proposed special conditions is to, you'll install erosion controls around everything. So that would pretty much be the same length as the driveway, wrap it around on that side.
Okay.
So the agent would have to go and approve that. I would just say, can we figure out, like, we'll assume that to the fence is 60 feet. If the agent goes out and when they're approving it, it's greater than, I don't know, 20 extra feet, like, that seems like, that. I'm trying to give you a lot of wiggle room that, like,
Yep.
If we're totally wrong about how long this driveway is supposed to be, would just have to note that, if it's up to 80, if it's greater than 80 feet, don't continue with the project until you get approval from the board.
Understood.
I feel like that's unlikely to be that long.
Agreed.
So we'll say up to 60 feet, or up to 80 feet, with that understanding.
Not to exceed 80 feet.
Yeah.
80 by 12.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like it's as long as the house.
Yeah, which is only like, I would say.
30 feet.
I think it was like 30.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going way over.
It's over, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
so yeah, let's not to exceed 60 feet if you're.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So those are the rough dimensions. We know how, 12 by 60, I'm not going to do the math right now. I cannot do that in my head, but pretty simple to do. We now have a general idea about how big this driveway will be. The picture you sent us, there is a curve. If you do want to maintain that curve, you're allowed to not build as much of the driveway as you're proposing. That wouldn't be an issue. So but as long as it's not above that calculation, I don't see any issue with not approving this tonight, if anybody else has any questions or comments.
Common sense.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to read out the rest of the conditions. The applicant shall install and maintain perimeter controls around the area of work to prevent the deposition of debris into nearby resource areas. Perimeter control shall remain in place until all areas of erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. These controls shall act as a limit of work. No equipment can be restored or work done past that point. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent or our acting conservation agent shall inspect and approve of the installed ESCs. Are you comfortable with all of that?
Yes.
All right. So with that being said, this is a public hearing. If there's anybody in the public who would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. Not seeing anybody rise, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. By the way, negative determination is what you want. That allows you to, it's the opposite of what you would think. But
Thanks for the
we
clarification.
just approved it, you now have.
Negative is good.
Yeah.
I don't know, a few times in your life, it'll be good.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. right. Agenda item D is a public hearing, request for determination of applicability for Manuel and Alessandra Pereira, 86 Kendall Road, Assessors Map 63, Lot 48. Is there anybody here for that? Could you please come up and introduce yourselves?
Alessandra Pereira,
Good afternoon, Manuel Pereira,
And can you just
86.
explain what you're
86
planning on?
Kendall Road. Yeah, so we have an existing deck in the back of the property, a wooden deck, and we basically just want to change it to a Trex deck instead of constantly having to,
it's rotted.
well, it's rotted, yes, and painted and all that stuff, so.
It's unsafe, it's rotted, matured. We actually have planks on it. We can put your feet on it, so want to make it safe.
So,
So you're just going to change the decking?
It's basically just, within the existing footprint, but just putting Trex instead of wood deck.
all right.
Replacing the whole thing, no.
Yes, replacing the deck with
So you're replacing everything,
everything, yes,
Everything, 'cause
because the wood,
but you're
The
just,
beams
yeah.
are rotten.
But it's same footprint, same
Yes.
layout.
same thing, yes,
The footings, are you redoing
same footings.
same footings?
Yep.
All right. Seems pretty standard. It's a deck. I'm just going to read out, unless anybody has any questions or comments on the commission. I'm just going to read out some special conditions. The applicant shall install and maintain perimeter controls around the area of work to prevent the deposition of debris into nearby resource areas. Perimeter controls shall remain in place until all areas of erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. These controls shall act as a limit of work. No equipment can be stored or work done past that point. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent or the acting conservation agent shall inspect and approve the installed ESCs. Are you comfortable with all of that?
Yes.
All right, perfect. This is a public hearing. If there's anybody in the public who would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. Not seeing anybody rise. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item E is a public hearing. This is also a determination of applicability for Greg Frazier, 71 John E. Smith Drive, Assessors Map 45, Lot 115. Is there anybody here for that?
Good evening. My name's Greg Frazier, representing Top Deck Construction LLC. I'm here to seek approval for replacing the front existing farmer's porch and side deck, the property located at 71 John E. Smith Drive.
All right, and this is another, it's a deck, it's being replaced with same,
We're completely redoing the whole deck, yep.
Yeah.
And using the existing footings.
all right, so you're not redoing the footings are going to stay in place, and you're just going to build on top?
Yeah, I have the original permit from when this house was built and the deck itself, which shows the approval for those footings. The only thing that's changing is I'm extending this left side from 8 feet to 10 feet.
All right,
And I'm using the existing footings with a beam, and I'm going to cantilever the joists to get the extra couple of feet,
all right.
which is, clearly shown in the plans that I have here.
Seems pretty standard. Yeah, so this is just like a,
It's a farmer's porch with
wraparound, yeah.
a side deck going down the side of the house.
Yeah,
The front porch is obviously covered with the roof that we got to support. Redo all the framing in the front. And like I said, we're going to use those existing footings on the left side with a beam and cantilever the joists.
all right. That seems,
nice, easy plans.
yeah, seems pretty standard. It's, a deck. I again, I've said it before, I don't want to stand in the way of anybody enjoying their deck.
Yeah.
So,
They have a beautiful view over there with the pond and stuff on the
Oh, yeah.
side too, so that 8 feet is really kind of like a useless deck.
all right. So if that's the case, I just clicked out of something. I'm just going to read out some special conditions. The applicant shall not store any equipment, materials, or related items within the 50-foot buffer zone. All stockpiles and construction equipment shall remain in place, shall remain in front of the home on paved areas. The work area shall be promptly restored following completion, and any debris or materials resulting from the construction shall be removed. Because you're very close to the pond over there, right? Yeah, so you just, if you can, we're not gonna require any erosion controls, but if any wood, cutting that you're doing, if there's considerable amounts of sawdust, do it somewhere else on the
Everything will
driveway.
be cut and
Yeah.
staged in the front of the house.
All right, perfect.
The only thing that'll be done over there is you'll see footprints over there.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, kind of leave no trace type
Yeah,
situation.
absolutely.
All right. All right. If there's no more questions or comments from the commission, I will open it up to the public. If there's anybody in the public who would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. Not seeing anybody rise, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
All right, have a nice evening. Thank you for your time.
Agenda item F is a public hearing, request for determination of applicability for Paul Nazaro, 257 Catamount Road, Assessors Map 66, Lot 5. Could you please introduce yourselves for the record and then explain what you plan on doing? Sure.
I'm Paul Nazaro, Senior Trustee of 257 Catamount Realty Trust. The occupant is my son, Paul Jr., 257 Catamount Road.
And can you just explain what you are proposing to do?
The installation of an 18-foot round above-ground swimming pool, 54-inch walls, 7,500-gallon capacity. It's going to be, as the diagram I think I uploaded shows, it's the only practical place on the property to put the pool. It's unusual topography because everything rolls downhill and he's on the low end of the hill, so that's the ideal place for the pool to be situated.
Oh, wait. I made a joke about this, what I assumed was another property. You're the ones at the bottom of the
Yes.
of Catamount.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, that's the hill I've run up, and that's not fun.
It's not fun.
So I just want to point out to the rest of the commission, the highlight on this map is for a different property. They're 257. It's at the very bottom. It's basically in the center of the image. It's not the one that's highlighted. I just want to be clear about that one. All right. So it's a pool over on that side of the property.
Right.
And a
So
deck.
so there'll be in addition, a 4x8 AZEC platform is what it is, with walls and 3 steps up so the kids can step up to the pool. Then there'll be a staircase inside the pool that is designed to be dealt that way. So that's why we're putting the deck up. It's not an expansive deck, 4x8.
Yeah.
It will have railings, all AZEC, no metal.
All right. Seems pretty standard for a pool. Does anybody on the commission have any questions or comments?
I have no
at this time?
questions.
I have no questions.
If there's no further questions, I'm just going to read out some conditions. So the applicant shall install and maintain perimeter controls around the area of work to prevent the deposition of debris into nearby resource areas. Perimeter controls shall remain in place until all areas erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. These controls shall act as a limit of work. No equipment can be stored or work done past that point. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation or the acting agent shall inspect and approve of the installed ESCs. Are you comfortable
Yes.
with those? All right. With that being said, I will open it up to the public. This is a public hearing. If there's anybody who would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. I thought we had one. They are sitting down. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully enjoy your pool. All right. Where are we? G. This is a request for certificate of compliance for Norse Environmental 45 Layton Lane, Assessors Map 79, Lot 55, DEP file number 305-1216. Is there anybody here for that? Could you please introduce yourselves for the record, and the floor is yours.
Good evening, Brian Harris, homeowner at 45 Layton Lane.
Peter McGee, contractor.
Great. And can you just explain the situation so far?
Yeah, the project's been completed. Abigail had been out, made a site visit. Order of conditions were approved by her prior to her departing. Norse Environmental submitted documentation, as did the engineer for this plot plan. And everything's completed.
So, this is any questions or comments from the commission?
Well, it looks like we got three sheer violations of the order of conditions.
I was going to bring that up. So,
This is exactly what we've been fighting.
now, with that being said, again, I don't want to stand in the way of somebody enjoying their property. You've done a bit of extra work that wasn't permitted, so we have to figure out the best way forward. So the recorded order of conditions states, I think the one that initially, saw, that I saw, so any additional work proposed within the buffer zone shall require wetland replication. So there was additional work that was done. So to me, like, you should have come back and had a minor modification saying, we want to do this, this, and this. And again, I don't think, seeing what you guys did, it's a little bit extra walkway. It's a, stone, not a patio, but like a stone walkway and a gravel walkway. And then gravel driveway, is that correct?
I did come back a few months ago to the commission.
You did come back?
I did come back, yeah, and was approved these minor modifications that I did want to add all the crushed stone,
Why?
which would help for drainage and also tie into the existing property. I think I was back here in April, if I recall.
April.
For the extended driveway and everything?
All the stonework, crushed stonework, yes, yeah. That's why I'm surprised what you're saying, because I did come in front of the commission. I've been here at least three times.
Because
I don't even remember it.
I believe it was the April meeting. March or
If it
April.
was early April or late April?
I don't recall. It was definitely, yeah, April.
If that's the case, I apologize and we can,
Yeah, that's why I was surprised when you made that comment, because I did come back
It's
and
right
get
in our,
approval.
it's in our.
Yeah, the review letter, or the letter of substantial compliance states, this was done, the stone parking area was added to the left side of the paved driveway, which will likely increase infiltration of runoff from the driveway. Additionally, a stone perimeter was added. So let me just, of course, something went wrong.
I don't remember this one.
Oh, yeah, it was on the agenda for.
Yeah, I'm seeing,
the
all right,
22nd.
so,
For what?
The 22nd, April 22nd.
so the, the general contractor wrote in the proposed square footage for the crushed stone along the foundation and the left side of the driveway. See yellow highlights as well. Please let me know if this drawing is sufficient for the committee. Thank you. And then we have a drawing, 744 square feet, plantings, wetland, no mulch, rear left side, stone around foundation, and 4 foot wide, stave to the left side of driveway, 560 square feet. The one I am seeing is that does include the gravel driveway and the area. Is the, I thought the, I thought around the back, the paver walkway was already there. All right.
Yeah.
Um,
It was just a crushed stone, that's why I came back for those modifications before.
Which we had spoken to Abigail about.
All right.
Yeah. And she approved too, she came out on the property and approved it.
Let me. I just want to do my due diligence. The meeting minutes don't talk a ton about this. Mr. Harris explained that the property is on a high water table and the existing house has stone around the foundation, and he would like to do that on the addition as well, and would like to go up 4 feet to keep it uniform. The purpose is to help the drainage. The meeting minutes don't say anything about the driveway, but the plot plan, from what I can see, the highlighted in yellow, does seem to match the area of the driveway. So, I mean, I guess I apologize, what is it called? The letter of substantial compliance makes it sound like this is all unpermitted work. So that's why we kind of, saw this and go, well, like, you should have done more plantings or something, but I wish I remembered more of this. Again, I apologize. It seems like you've done everything that, we agreed to. I'd like to review the actual video of the meeting, because I just don't remember any of this. But I guess at this point, I'm comfortable. I think the record shows that they did do the minor modification as they were supposed to. Again, I will apologize a third time. We get so many people that don't do minor modifications, and they come in here and they're like, oh, I didn't think it was a big deal. So we saw this and we it raised a lot of red flags, but again,
I was just surprised because we did the right thing and
Yeah.
coming to the.
And thank you for not getting,
I don't remember this.
Yeah, I don't really,
Yeah, it's just tough because Abigail's not here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
But she did come out, we have an email from her that
Yeah.
she signed off.
No, you did the right thing.
Yeah.
Right, like Dan said, we apologize because this is on review, it doesn't look good.
yeah, it's the review letter, it makes it look like there was a bunch of stuff that was not permitted, but I think a misunderstanding. So with that being said, this is a request for certificate of compliance. Unless anybody else has any questions or comments.
No, you did the right thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So I will entertain a motion to approve or to ratify the request for certificate of compliance as discussed at this meeting.
That motion, sir.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much. Sorry for
That will
wasting
be
some of
sent
your
out
time.
to us?
What's that?
That letter or whatever for our record will be sent out to us?
Yes, I don't know the exact process, but
Okay.
yeah, you'll get something.
Perfect.
I forget if we have to sign, I don't think we have to sign anything for
I don't think you guys do.
Yeah, but you'll get something, that you can submit to the
Registry of
registry of deeds if you
Yeah, that's
so
what we'll need it
choose.
for. Okay.
Yep, okay, thank you.
All right,
All right,
thank you
for your
very
time.
much.
All right, have a good night.
Help with the project.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda item H is a request for a certificate of compliance for Jeff Koderitz on behalf of David Ciceno, 1695 Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 113, Lot 22. Can you please introduce yourself for the record, and the floor is yours.
Sure. Good evening, Jeff Ketteritz with VHB. Here requesting a certificate of compliance for 1695 Shawshene Street. Project was completed around fall of the previous year, closed out with the planning board, but stabilized and work complete as shown on the plans. So just wanted to submit the request for your review and happy to answer any questions.
I just went to agenda item G, or agenda item H for April's meeting, so I am a little behind. All right, yeah. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Oh, I remember this one, yeah.
This one, yeah, I think we've,
Yeah, they got some good growth in there.
there's pictures, right? Oh, yeah, all right, so this is, you have that pretty substantial drop off in the back of the property.
Correct, with the retaining wall
That's-
along the back.
Yeah, but that's all, we can see that's all been, great growth in there.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we were waiting for it to stabilize, weren't we?
Exactly,
For a couple of growing seasons, yeah.
And-
Yeah, it was late in the fall season when they
Right.
were going through the.
This one I remember.
Yeah.
And the fence, obviously you need a fence there. Just, you don't have, the property looks great. The letter of compliance seems to show everything was done, exactly based on what you said you'd do. I'm just bringing this up now. It's not strictly an issue. I would just be on the lookout for that fence to, it's so close to the edge. Just please maintain that and I don't think too many people are going to be wandering back there.
Got it.
But just keep that in mind, I would recommend. But with that said, any questions or comments from the commission?
I'm here.
That looks good.
Yeah. All right. Could I have a motion to ratify the request for certificate of compliance as discussed at this meeting?
I will make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
All right, now we have a few continuations. This isn't going to make a lot of sense because we have two applications for the same property for a land disturbance and a notice of intent, and then we have one application for a notice of intent and land disturbance permit. But I will take them in order. Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing, major land disturbance, ETS Inc., 600 Woburn Street, Assessors Map 3, Lot 82? Could I have a motion to continue that to the September 2nd, 2026 meeting? So a little bit further out. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Agenda item J, public hearing, notice of intent for Gene Sullivan, 600 Woburn Street, Assessors Map 3, Lot 82, DEP file number 305-1231. Could I have a motion to continue this to also the September 2nd, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Agenda item K is a public hearing, notice of intent and land disturbance permit for Marburg 1770 LLC, 1770 Main Street, Assessors Map 85, Lot 1, DEP file number 305-1233. We do not have a requested continuation date, so I'm going to request a continuation to the next meeting on August 12th, 2026. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, and that's almost it for this meeting. We have one more, a public hearing, notice of intent and land disturbance permit for Tyler Ryan, 73 and 75 Hillman Street, Assessors Map 35, Lot 6, DP file number 305-1232. And I'm assuming you are continuing to recuse yourself.
Go check in now.
All right. All right, just for the record, Mr. Sheehan has recused himself from this meeting, from this hearing. So Tyler Ryan and he might be, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, so. I don't know if that mic is on, Tyler. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Before I open up the floor to you guys, I'll just make my typical announcements that this is a fairly contentious meeting. So again, you guys have been very good at being very quiet during this meeting, so we are able to hear the applicants. I request that you continue, being as quiet as possible so we can continue to hear everything that's been said. We will do our part in trying to speak directly into the microphones so you can all hear us, but we are limited by the PA system. With that said, I will continue when we open it back up to public hearing. The hearing has not closed. I don't think we're going to close or make any motions tonight. But when I open it up to the public, it will continue to be 3 minutes of discussion for everybody. I will time that, and at 30 seconds, try to give you notification that your time is coming to a close. As I said before, this meeting has been getting sort of contentious, where some comments have been made that are verging on personal attacks. I will not be allowing that at this meeting. If you have questions, somebody made a comment about emails between the applicant not being received in time. That is none of my business. I do not care about your personal emails not being issued in time. We, as a commission, cannot base our decision on something like that. We are here to discuss the wetlands and the wetlands only. So I am going to try to keep everybody on topic, the applicants, the commission, and anybody who would like to say anything on the public record. So with all that being said, I will now open it up to the applicants. Can you please introduce yourselves for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Good evening. I'm Tyler Rinn with East Point Energy. I'm a senior project developer.
Good evening. I'm Frank Holmes with Langen Engineering, civil engineer.
Thank you.
Good evening. Greg Hockmuth, project wetland scientist from Epsilon Associates.
Thank you. All right. So can we discuss whatever you have to present us?
Sure. We have two quick slides. One is showing the proposed underground detention basins within the 100-foot buffer zones. And then the second one is just on the exact requests for waivers that we're asking for this evening. So we're able to get the screen working.
Let's see if this works.
All right. Typically, our screens turn on at this point. It was taking some time.
We go for a slideshow.
Sorry for a second. I don't know if that cord is.
There it goes.
There it is. All right.
All right. Which slide do you want me to go to, Ty?
You can go to the first one, the site plan.
Sure.
So this first one was requested that we show, so we just wanted to start with this. As you can see, on the western edge, just west of that green line, which is the 100-foot buffer to the BVWs, you can see the proposed underground stormwater systems kind of just within that buffer zone. So just wanted to kind of show the kind of subterranean infrastructure that will be installed and kind of the locations of that. And then you can see the 100-foot buffer zone to the IVW on the north of the site with no sort of underground systems within that. And then the other slide was just a clarification on exactly what waiver we're requesting. So the only waiver we're asking for is for work within the 25-foot no disturb zone. And the work that we're asking for the waiver on is simply a removal of the existing debris and materials that are currently encroaching on the wetlands within that area. So not installing anything, not building anything, simply pulling out encroachments, and we'll be kind of revegetating it with native wetlands and other species there. So those are the two things that I know had been previously requested. If you have any questions about either of those, happy to discuss. Otherwise, I would turn it back over to you all.
So for the, I have a few questions about the peer review.
Sure.
But first, so the bylaw waiver request, the proposed work will be conducted using appropriate best management practices. Can you just walk us through, like, I guess, the state of this area right now? And is this all by hand? Are you proposing to use machines or anything? And just what is the process for that? What is that like?
Sure. So I'll let my colleagues up here talk about kind of the process for construction. But as you can see, especially to the north near that IVW, you can see there's a large concrete wall, kind of a retaining wall, as well as some storage built within the 25-foot no disturb buffer. So all we're proposing is removing the equipment and retaining walls and such from that encroachment, and just bringing it south to the kind of 50-foot line or further, or sorry, outside of the 25-foot line or further.
Just going to go to the landscape plan. So once the debris is removed, the area will be regraded, loamed, and seeded with a meadow mix that contains native species that will do well in the conditions out there. So it's going to reestablish the 25-foot no disturb zone in an area that's currently developed, and it will be vegetated with no development.
All right.
Is there oil in the ground there? Is there,
Yeah, so we haven't done, sure, we haven't done any sort of, we've done soil samples and such on site and have found contaminants. We're working with the Department of Environmental Protection currently on going through kind of the steps in that process to make sure that things are remediated and worked through in accordance with state law. To my knowledge, there's not any sort of immediate contamination to that area. However, during construction and prior to construction, they'll do kind of a more robust look at that particular area and ensure that it's dealt with in accordance with state policy.
so it could be digging up soil,
Potentially.
could be lead in there, it could be, we don't know what's in there.
Potentially,
Good to
yeah.
have to dig up a lot of that soil.
Probably not. My understanding is that most of the stuff that has been stored in that location has been like ground salt and mulch and things like that for landscaping, and less of the more heavy uses that they use closer to the buildings and to the west of the site. But like I said, we haven't done any sort of deep soil analysis in that location yet.
And that will be done before construction?
Correct.
It will have to be, right?
Correct.
And I guess on that point, if you get there, I don't know the exact appropriate process, but if you get there and you just start discovering there's much more than there is, you'd have to contact us and let us know and stuff. If you're cleaning up the wetlands, I don't want to stand, in your way on that, but I would like to know exactly what the state is, if it's radically different from what we currently think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of I completely agree with that. And just for clarification too, one of the siting council conditions that we were given, I know that's not part of this conversation, but one of those conditions was that if anything, health, safety, or environmental changes, or we have to make a filing or something on the site, that has to be sent to the town as well, and your board would certainly receive a copy of any sort of filings like that.
All right. Any questions or comments from the commission before I ask about the peer review? All right, so I'm just going to go down the list. The second thing, the comment response, it says, if supplemental snow management is required, a snow melting system can be incorporated. You don't have a lot of parking on here. On the proposed plans. We're usually, if there's too much snow, we're told, it'll be shipped off-site, which is great. I don't typically have an issue with that. It does raise the question of, during a blizzard, are people truly going to move the snow when it's a blizzard? But the snow melting system kind of caught my eye. What would that be? Like, can you just explain what the snow melting system that could be incorporated would be like.
Yeah, so, I don't think a snow management plan has not been flushed out for this site yet. I know it's something we're working through with the asset management team currently, and they've put out requests to a number of asset managers to kind of help guide us in that process. To answer the question about snow melt, lots of companies in New England have systems that essentially using some sort of heater melt the snow because it's a lot more compact when it's in water. And so it's similar to shipping the snow off site, but rather than dump trucks full of snow, it just melts the snow prior to being removed from the location.
So it doesn't sound like it would be a permanent feature, it would just be there in case. All right.
Correct. It would be like, it's essentially a pickup truck or a dump truck that they would bring to the location and fill with Bobcats or similar excavators.
All right. And then I think you already addressed this, the meadow seed mix, that would be native seeds to the New England area.
Yeah, it's an Ernst mix that we've had really good luck with on other sites, and it contains species that are all native to Massachusetts.
All right. So tech defers to the commission. I'm cool with that if everybody else is. That seems pretty standard. Going down. Comment from 17. Given the grading constraints, it is not feasible to install trench drains that connect to the water quality units. Therefore, the two site driveways have been designed to sheet flow to Hillman Street. See response to number 26 regarding TSS removal for the site driveways. Can you just, again, go over the sheet flow that's just going on to Hillman Street and using the existing stormwater management system? But you say site grading constraints. My understanding is that this property is fairly flat, so there's not much there besides the existing building and stuff. So what are the grading constraints that would prevent this?
I can speak to that one. So Hillman Street itself is a couple feet lower than the site. So the two driveways, slope up, ramp up a bit from Hillman Street to get up to the site. And so the elevation at the gutter line on Hillman Street, if we were to put trench drains there, they're just an elevation just too low. By the time we have the elevation, and then the pipe for a trench drain would be another foot or more below grade than that. We're too low to get into the drainage system on site, essentially.
All right.
And so, we're capturing all the stormwater on site except for those, two relatively short sections between the gates, the fence, and Hillman Street, significantly reducing what's going towards Hillman Street in the existing conditions.
All right. So this is from comment 21. To prevent stormwater from discharging directly into the crushed stone from the pavement, mountable asphalt curbing has been provided along the low side of the road where it abuts the crushed stone yard. Detail has been provided on CS 502. Mountable asphalt curbing, is that different from every other asphalt curbing I've seen? I'm just not familiar with mountable.
Yeah, mountable is really just so the shape of the curb is just such that a vehicle could drive over it.
Yeah.
If necessary. So it's not a vertical face.
All right.
It's got a sloped face to it.
All right, I have another one that we've already discussed with the grading and the sheet flow. All right, so this one, I'm just asking that you update. So I know that, you've got the peer review, you've made all these responses. Tech or TEC is going to respond to your responses and stuff. But for 36, it says, and this is another one somewhere else, it says, the O&M has been updated to indicate it shall be recorded at the Registry of Deeds once approved by the planning board. My understanding is that I might get this wrong, the EFSB, you've applied, you've been granted a waiver, so you don't have to go to the planning board. I don't know what the process is now that you can not go to the planning board. It still seems like it should be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. You don't have to respond right now, or, if you want to, by all means, but I just would like something, update that comment to explain what that process is now without going to the planning.
Yeah, I believe that was just a typo and that it was approved by the Conservation Committee. In some places, the planning board is the one that would approve this, but yeah, once approved here, it'll be registered.
So, not really a comment, but more of just repeating this. The project proposes to redevelop approximately 35,560 square feet of buffer zone and to restore approximately 17,380 square feet of buffer zone with a native upland wildlife forage and cover seed mix and native plantings, including approximately 1,805 square feet located within the 25-foot no disturb zone associated with the IVW. So that's what you were talking about before.
Yeah, that's one of the locations where we're providing some vegetation where it doesn't currently exist. We were asked by the peer review consultant to quantify the buffer zone impacts, which we tried to do there, and also highlight the positives where we're able to provide less impervious and actually provide some vegetation.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was one of the things that's hard to really, can see the plans, can see how big the project is, compared to I forget how many acres it is, but getting, a little bit more, 35,000 square feet, 17,000 square feet. I just want to say I appreciate that. The other thing, I don't have it highlighted, I thought I did. So basically, there's the potential vernal pool at the top of the site. And I believe you're saying it doesn't, it's a potential vernal pool on different maps and, site plans and stuff, but you've reviewed it. It does not meet the qualifications of an actual vernal pool. But you've also shown images that it certainly looks like, based on those aerial, views, there's some sort of small pond there. Can you just go over why it doesn't qualify even though it looks like it's a vernal pool?
Sure, be happy to. So I was the one that investigated it. So your bylaw requires potential vernal pools to be shown as such, and also to have a 200-foot buffer shown from them. But the definition of vernal pool in the bylaw is very specific. It has to basically be what would be deemed certifiable under the state regulations. And oftentimes that's based on absence of fish, which we don't think there's fish out here, but we didn't check. I will say I haven't seen any evidence that this dries up. So I think it's predominantly groundwater fed. That wouldn't have any bearing on whether or not it was a vernal pool. But I'd point out the drying up, because typically that's how we'll prove that a isolated wetland is absent of fish, because if it dries up, it can't have fish. So let's assume this doesn't have fish. We would have had to find biological evidence, and typically that's breeding amphibians. Around here, it's typically wood frogs, spotted salamanders, or fairy shrimp, and we didn't find any of those in this pool. We looked at it during the breeding season, at peak breeding season, and we provided those dates in our narrative, and basically that we didn't find enough evidence here for it to be deemed certifiable, and that mirrors the language in your bylaw.
So you're proposing to clean up that area. That's going to get a lot of cleanup. I guess out of curiosity, you clean it all up. it's not hard to assume that perhaps there's no wildlife living in that area because, as you said, there might be some oils and stuff. Clean it all up. Can we expect wildlife to return to that area, and any idea about how long that would take?
It's tough to answer, but I think I would fully expect wildlife to return to this area. I think the current use is probably scaring a lot of those critters away. Some of the activities out here in proximity to that pool, if you look, it's developed on one side and it's got a railroad track on the other side. And there's extensive wetland systems all around here. So if you were a critter looking for a pool to breed in, this might not be the best spot. There might be other locations nearby. But sure, this could be a vernal pool down the road.
All right. So yeah, I guess that's my point, is like if we clean this up and it returns to vernal pool status, like that would limit any future activity on this site, because then you would have that 200-foot buffer zone that we discussed essentially.
Yeah. And, being a vernal pool would be protected under your bylaw. So yeah, I think you're right on.
All right. I mean, I'm curious to see most of your responses are, acknowledged. You changed I think you called it a no-touch zone, and now it's the no-build zone and stuff like that.
Disturbed zone, yeah.
So I appreciate that. My understanding again is that the tech might have some response comments to your comments. Hopefully it doesn't go back and forth or anything like that. But in my experience, it typically doesn't go, it's not a, response after response after response. We get this pretty, not cut and dry, but.
You bring up a good point, and I think we'd like to ask as a group, obviously looping in the commission on communications, but oftentimes if we can have direct contact with a peer review consultant or vice versa, as long as the commission's part of that discussion, it can sometimes help streamline the process rather than waiting for a report, us getting it, responding. That open line of communication can often sometimes streamline things. So just throwing that out there is something the commission might want to consider.
I mean, I have no issues with that. I think that's standard.
I have an issue just because of the public interest in this.
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
Well documented, all of the communication between you and TEC. So I think the way it's going now is, it may take longer, but it really needs to be done in a well-documented way and not private emails or phone calls, or even if we're included, I don't think that's appropriate.
So I guess if we are CC'd, if the Conservation Commission, Town Hall, whoever is also on the email chain, that's automatically public record. I don't know the process of how often somebody goes in and uploads that to our, publicly available, portal. We got our stuff from one site. I don't know exactly how it works. I take your point. I don't think it's as, I guess my concern is not so much that the public would not be able to get that information, it's how readily available it would be. Is it once a day we go through it, or, once a week? But the alternative is we, wait for public hearings to upload it, and we, it delays the process a little bit. I don't think it's gonna delay
I think it's well-structured that way.
Yeah. So unless any.
To your point, Linda, I think everything needs to be.
Yeah, I don't think we want to make any changes in what we're doing, only because of so much public interest. There's no, I don't
Yeah.
want people looking at us like we're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because this is the way it's always been done, so let's just keep it that way.
All right, so that's what I'm hearing, if anybody else wants to.
Not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, so I would say, let's continue the way we've been operating, even if it's, it is what it is, but I think it is for the best that we do it, we continue this way. All right, that's
Dan,
all.
I just had a question about number 22. Your response is the site is generally flat. It's not anticipated to have significant erosion issues. If needed, the contractor may locate sediment basin traps outside of wetland resource area buffer zones. So how do you know if it's needed and where would those be located?
Yes.
So once a contractor is on board and they have a logistics plan and a phasing plan for how they're going to build this, they'll have to develop, they're going to have to file with the EPA and prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan as part of that EPA permit as the contractor. And as part of that process, they'll identify where they feel that they need sedimentation basins and erosion controls. And as part of that process, there are weekly inspections that need to happen. And if there are adjustments that need to be made for where the sediment basins are going, then the contractor will make those adjustments. So we really can't determine right now, like where the contractor will put his sediment basins. It will depend on their logistics plan and their phasing plans.
Okay, I'm just, like, outside of wetland resource area buffer zones means basically inside the, because the whole area would be the buffer zone, right? So it would basically have to be.
So this is showing the buffer zones. So to the west of that green line and within that circle are the buffer zones. So majority of the site is outside of these buffer zones and a potential location for those sediment basins.
So they would be between the green line and the circle? They'd have to be in there?
They'd have to be outside of, either to the right of that green line or outside of that green circle.
Okay.
So I guess these are not.
Yes, yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
These are not permanent things. They would, it's dewatering essentially. Is that what we're talking about?
It's temporary sediment basins, so prior to the stormwater system being constructed and finalized, when the work is going on and soil is exposed, stormwater is directed to sediment basins for stormwater to go into and allow sediment to settle out before it's discharged from the site.
All right.
So they're temporary in nature just during construction.
But yeah, it would be outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. And I mean, yeah, you do seem to have, a fair amount of room outside of the buffer zones and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Not hearing any. This is a public hearing. I will open it up to the public. Once again, I am going to keep things on track. I'm going to limit discussion to 3 minutes. And if you have at 30 seconds, I will try to warn you that your time is coming to a close. I just also ask that, as previously, why can't I use my timer? There it is. If I want to discourage people getting up, talking for 3 minutes, somebody else getting up, talking, saying the same stuff, somebody else getting, so when, the person who, when I see repeat people going up, I'm going to ask that we continue this to the next meeting. I'm not closing the public hearing. You'll all get a chance to talk if you want to talk. But I don't want just, that situation happening. All right. With that being said, if we can all keep it civil, I ask that anybody go up and make a comment at the podium and introduce yourself for the record. Anybody can go up and talk on the,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Tom Berrigan. I live at the 55 and over community of Emerald Court. I recently emailed a detailed expert-backed memorandum highlighting how the Hillman design fails to meet section 5.6 of our own groundwater protection bylaw. Tonight, I want to leave you with two undeniable facts. First, look at the physical reality of what is being proposed. This is a massive 125 megawatt industrial facility being squeezed into 4.3 acre lot. Other projects of this scale, like Moraga Bress project in Oakham, utilizes over 10.8 acres of land. Hillman is packing double the battery density into a fraction of the space, right inside the sensitive Zone 2 wellhead protection area. The resulting concentrations of stormwater runoff and localized groundwater mounding is a recipe for disaster. Second, let's address the elephant in the room, the water table. The Commonwealth has officially classified our region under level 3 critical drought. Our groundwater levels are historically low. Any groundwater measurements that the applicant presents to you tonight are a mirage. They do not reflect the seasonal high water table when our town is not in a drought. The Siting Board June 30th decision explicitly states that you, the commission, have the independent authority to enforce our bylaws. The town manager may have settled for a financial agreement, but your duty is not to the town's bank account, it is to our drinking water. Please, do what is right. Hold Hillman to our strict 3-foot separation bylaw based on calibration, non-drought plan, ban subsurface PVC liners, and mandate 100% runoff containment. Thank you.
Thank you. And you've submitted that document to us before?
I submitted a different document this morning to the Tewksbury Conservation Commission email address.
So it's in our record.
It's different than this, the article that I have here. But it's a different article. And also, I just wanted to bring up one quick item. The town website is Town of Tewksbury Town Manager's Monthly Newsletter for June. His last statement, the town will continue to keep the residents
you have 30 seconds.
Informed as it moves forward. So as far as how and if we should be notified, town manager says it will be done. How, I don't know, but we don't want to find out something 2 or 3 weeks after the document has been published, if at all possible.
I hear what you're saying. We're not the town manager.
No, I understand.
Try to contact them,
I guess he's speaking for all of the boards and commissions in the town that we will be kept informed.
I don't want to make any promises on something I can't. This is the Conservation Commission.
Does the representative from the town have anything to say about that?
I think what the town manager is referencing is that the newsletter is going to be produced monthly, so there'll be continual updates in the newsletter.
It says the project still requires additional permitting, the Conservation Committee review, and construction is not expected to begin for several years. That's what precedes that statement about we will be kept informed. So it is directly referencing.
As the person who wrote it, I'm explaining to you the meaning behind the words.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to address the commission, I just ask that you go up and introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Christopher Senni. I'm an attorney. I represent Maureen De Palma and Dennis Sheehan, who own 6 properties that are in very close proximity to the project site. I submitted 2 letters and a memorandum to the commission, and within a few minutes of submitting that, I sent it to attorney Andrew Kaplan, who represents the applicant, and I'm sure Andrew has shared it with Mr. Rinn and his engineers. We have participated in the Energy Facility Siting Board process, which is really a 2-stage process, and one was just completed. That's an exemption from local zoning bylaws. There's another process, which is a permit that the board has to issue. It's called a certificate, and that has just begun. So there is a second process coming. And in between those 2 processes, I think the Energy Facility Siting Board is looking to this commission to exercise leadership and inform the board of how you view this project on this site. I did put in my letter part of what the board put into the decision on the zoning exemption, which I'd like to read quickly. The Siting Board expects that state and local agencies and federal agencies, as appropriate, will review the applicable permits that must be obtained for this proposed facility. At that stage in the permitting, each agency may impose conditions consistent with its authority in issuing a permit. Those agencies are not precluded by a grant of the zoning exemption by the board in this proceeding from making an independent assessment of design and mitigation issues to ensure compliance with otherwise applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations. I just wanted you to know that. I do believe the Energy Facility Siting Board is very much dependent on and is looking to you for your deliberation on this notice of intent. In a recent case called Cranberry Point, the board adopted into its decision certain provisions that the local Conservation Commission had adopted. So it's very important. We have recommended 3 conditions. In other words, we're not here tonight to say we oppose the project. We do oppose the project on certain grounds that are not relevant here, but for these purposes, protecting the wetlands, we propose that you require a 3-foot separation between the bottom of the infiltration basins and the seasonal high groundwater. We propose that you require the natural drainage and vegetated system of stormwater management because it does a better job of treating the toxins than a standard system that's proposed. And we propose that you require full containment of any toxins that might get released. These are reasonable conditions that would make this facility fit on this site much better. It would result in fewer containers. It would result in a smaller project. And my suggestion is that if the commission would continue this matter until its next meeting after hearing from the public, we would be willing to work with the applicant on a revised plan that would call for using that better vegetated stormwater management system, which your regulations on land disturbance favors. You favor the vegetated system, and they treat the toxins that will go right through the standard stormwater system much better. So we're asking your consideration of these 3 conditions, and we're willing to work with the applicant on a revised plan that would still put a facility here, a considerable one.
You've gone over time. I ask that you,
okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for considering these conditions.
It's kind of a long time.
Excuse me. If you want to talk, if you want to make a comment, I ask that you go up to the podium and introduce yourself for the record. You can, if you can't do that, I'm not going to entertain people shouting at anybody at this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Briefly, while they're setting up, could we receive a copy of all of the documents that you have received? We still haven't received the documents from the first hearing that were submitted to you all. We received the letters that Mr. Tenney just spoke about, but just want to make sure that we have all
All
the
right, can
documents.
you contact Robert or the acting agent requesting those documents? At this point, I'm not exactly sure which ones you're talking about, but.
Hi, my name is Dawn Sheehan. I live at 100 B Star Ave. And a couple of us have talked about the importance of viewing this project as a whole. And really, if you look at the bottom picture in the paper I gave you, really emphasizing the fact that this is right around the big Great Swamp. That you see the little best down there, that's Hillman. And it's actually surrounded by 325 acres of the Great Swamp. And this feeds the Merrimack River. The Merrimack is the drinking water source for many towns. So extra care should be taken due to the toxic nature of the batteries since this is such a sensitive location. That top picture is what I have here. And this is the 1,200-foot transmission line. So we see, here's the substation here. So it goes through the wetlands, it comes down, and then here is a big question. Mr. Wren, is this underground horizontal drilling underneath the railroad?
No, it's going to be above ground crossing over the existing railroad. That's also an outdated location of the transmission route. National Grid has since asked that it comes out further west, so it'll be avoiding the IVB to the north there.
When were we given that one? Did we get that?
Can I just interrupt real quick? All conversation is supposed to flow through me, the chair, and then, so I'm not trying to put too many limits. I'm not going to, strict adherence, but please address questions to me. I will allow the applicant to respond in kind, but just for the sake of keeping everything proper, I just ask that you address, comments to me. So, but you can continue.
So that was if you could just explain, so where does the transmission line go now? Oh, sorry.
Sure. So it would come out a little bit farther to the west, so kind of on that diagonal, perpendicular to the diagonal, correct. And it's going to come northwest out at an angle, so perpendicular to the existing transmission lines. I can come up and show you.
Sure. I'm just curious why that isn't in the NOI, like why, if things are coming here, why we have so many different NOIs. Why can't it just be viewed as a whole?
So as I explained previously, we're still working with National Grid to finalize the exact route of the transmission line. The route is almost entirely on land owned by National Grid, so we need their approval prior to knowing the exact impacts, if any, to wetlands and other infrastructure. We have not finalized that yet. We're getting close, I believe, but we're still waiting on National Grid's kind of approval. So when that is complete and the impacts are known, a separate NOI will be filed for those impacts if there are any.
It just seems strange that it is going to impact this site, and to not have the actual location of where it enters, is it above ground, underground, those are all factors that should be taken into consideration due to the size of the project rather than viewing it as piecemealed, because there is a lot of underground. This is a huge swamp here, and we should know what's what in it, how it affects this area. But also looking in, we have the 100-foot buffer zone there. Again, clearly this is about a size of a basketball court wrapped in PVC liner. Why does this have to be in the 100-foot buffer zone? Why can't we shrink the project down to get this away? We know that these are dangerous chemicals, these are dangerous batteries. So certainly removing that would definitely be a decent compromise, we feel. Is there a way to get an answer on why the applicant would not want to shrink it down in order to respect our buffer zones?
If you care to respond, by all means.
Sure. Again, almost all, if not all of this site is already developed, encroaching way past where we're proposing impacts to the buffer zone. So again, we are pulling back from the existing 25-foot zones and reducing encroachments massively from what was currently there.
And the project fully complies with the commission's performance standards for buffer zone, which is a 25-foot no disturb zone and a 50-foot no build zone. We're respecting both of those.
You have 24 more seconds. If you
Okay.
to continue.
So it's developed now, but nothing's developed underneath. So you are digging really far down. You're saying that you're restoring to make it better, but actually you're digging a huge underground swimming pool that is very different to the fact that it's just has some bark mulch thrown on it right now. So certainly it's a way different land use to put these deep basins in the 100-foot buffer zone that could clearly be moved over to make the project more efficient. And you had issues with grading and such. The issue with grading is you don't have enough room. You're trying to squeeze a project in a too small of a space. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if you'd, the only thing I'd like to address is, so this is, you mentioned it before, somebody else mentioned the splitting up of the project into essentially two NOIs. I'm not going to claim I read the entire Wetlands Protection Act, this past time, but I searched through it, trying to find that language saying that we have the power to compel them to do this as one project. I could not find anything saying, with that exact phrasing, saying that we can combine this into one project or into one master plan. Not to say that language like that does not exist in other parts of the law, but I did a brief search of the Mass General laws looking for this stuff. I can't find it. So if you have something specific in mind, I'd like to know like exactly where that is. Because I did my, research. I couldn't find it. But so I just want to throw that out there that like, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying I could not find it. And therefore, like, at this point, I don't want us to, get ahead of ourselves.
Would that be a question for our DEP circuit rider?
I think it could be,
We
Robert.
could definitely ask. Before Abby had left, this question had actually come up from a resident, and so she had reached out to the DEP. I can forward the response that she got from them to the rest of the commission. But what was told to us plainly was that it is legal to segment the project. It's the choice of the applicant. It's legal to segment the project, is what DEP had said. The actions and the course that Hillman has taken is a course that is legal to do so. And it's one that's been done by many of the projects that have come before this commission.
And
I'll forward that to you all.
Thank you.
We had a recent review letter for a totally different project. I won't get into it, but it says Mass DEP does recommend against segmenting a project. But I think by that language, it's saying while they recommend not doing it that way, it doesn't say that it's illegal to do it that way. Now, there's a different question of like, if you were to split up a project into a ton of different things, because like when you're building a single family home, you don't have to comply with mass stormwater standards. That's clearly not what's happening in this situation, but if there was evidence that they were trying to break it up to avoid certain things by making the project smaller, that would be a different discussion. But like, again, we see, National Grid doing certain projects all the time in this exact area, this great swamp. Like, National Grid is doing one thing right here, one thing right here. 2 years later, they're doing another thing. So it's hard to, for me personally, it's hard to really say like, oh, you guys are avoiding anything by, breaking it up. It sounds like it's National Grid saying, we're not going to approve this project until you've done all the work, and, they just have to say, oh, yep, they get to claim that they did a bunch of stuff and not actually do it because it's other people doing. That might be a little bit too, putting words in their mouth, but National Grid breaking up projects is not unusual to my perspective. All right, with that, I will open up the floor to you. I just ask that you introduce yourself for the record.
Sandra Poole, 64 Emerald Court. So I have questions for the commission, and I know that the state granted, project zoning exemptions. That's why we're here tonight. However, the company must obtain a formal written thing from the commission. So a notice of intent with orders of conditions. And I'm wondering if the commission has done an order of conditions for this land disturbance.
I just want to correct one thing. My understanding is that the EFSB, I hope I got that correct.
Yeah, this is condition number 47.
But that lets them bypass planning, the planning board. They still have to come to us. So I don't know exactly, I know planning board controls certain things like, setbacks from the property, which I think you guys are still in compliance with our zoning bylaw. I'm not positive about that. But they're bypassing that one board. They're still required to come to us for our approval. This whole discussion is the notice of intent that they've submitted, and the order of conditions will result from whatever vote we take on it. So that's what we're guiding towards.
So given the information that they talked about, especially the disturbed wetlands, I understand you're not building the project, but you're removing existing materials there. So the site must be planted with what they call indigenous plantings, right? And part of this is that the state specifically requires that these plantings have to be at least 75% established within 2 growing seasons. The other thing is they have to hit this benchmark. So I'm wondering who monitors 2 years of growth for these plants?
That is typically a combination of their an applicant's wetland scientist and our conservation agent.
So you hire somebody to do that?
So right now, we are in between conservation agents, but the conservation agent would be responsible for reviewing. So typically in a project this size, like if it's, if it's a homeowner doing an addition, the agent would go out and review the property and make sure that everything is grown, and they would make the determination. For a project of this size, we'd be probably looking at monthly, quarterly, sometimes it's even weekly status reports. The conservation agent would also be responsible for reviewing that day-to-day stuff and come back and report to us during meetings.
All right, because it has to be 75%. And I'm wondering who does that. Also,
I just want to, another thing about that is that part of this process is that, they have the notice of intent. This is they're noticing us about what they intend to do. We say, you're allowed to do it under these conditions, this, and this. It will be a long list of things that they have to do. Part of that is 75% growth. If the agent goes out and says it's not 75% growth, we do not have to issue them a certificate of compliance. So it would be an active order going forward.
so I would consider that the fact that you have the enforcement power, if the replication fails the 75% establishment within the 2 years, that according to the Mass DEP, you have the direct authority to mandate additional measures to bring the site into compliance. So that's correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I will say we typically try to work with applicants that if something's not or I almost said 1% satisfied, if it's not 75% satisfied, we'll extend it. We won't close out the order of conditions and issue them a certificate of compliance. But, at that point, if it's not done in the recommended or the agreed upon time, we would say, no, go back and do something, and that would probably involve a new replication report that essentially a mini NOI saying, this is what we plan to do to get this up to, the thing that we promised.
And I just have one other final thing. There was a mention of the vernal pool, the IVW. For those who don't know, that's the isolated vegetated wetland. I understand that it did not qualify for certification, but I am asking the commission that you need to focus on whether the modeled reduction in the runoff could affect the existing wetland. I think that's something that's really important, and also the ecological function of that area. So those are my comments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I just want to clarify a couple items. I think what Mrs. Poole was describing was from the Inland Wetland Replication Guidance document through DEP, and that's specifically for wetland replication areas. We're proposing to restore the buffer zone, so it's not a wetland replication that we're doing. And typically, the 2 years of monitoring, the 75% success, those are all standard items for a wetland replication area. It's something the commission could require, making sure that areas were stabilized around the pool, but it typically wouldn't have all the bells and whistles that a wetland replication area would have as far as conditions go.
Yeah.
I did just want to clarify, we have no wetland alteration and no wetland restoration, just buffer zone restoration.
Yeah, so I guess you have no plans on going into the actual wetlands and doing any work there. Everything would be at that
25-foot no disturb zone.
Yeah, the 25-foot. So I guess that's the same, to really simplify things. Like, I know there's the different standards and stuff, but would essentially be looking if you're gonna restore that buffer zone and then 3 years down the line, it's still a giant dirt pile, nothing's growing there, it looks awful, that's when we would go, no, you have to actually replicate it, and we wouldn't issue the certificate of compliance when you request it. I think that's
exactly.
Yeah, that's what we're getting at. It's just not technically the same part of the regulation being quoted.
Correct.
All right. If you would like to.
Thank you.
Good evening. Bob Schleicher, 74 Emerald Court. Just, like I say, just listening to the first part of your meeting with the 8 applications that came forth, I was impressed with your diligence, and also when you felt that someone had overstepped, you seemed to say, we're not going to let that happen. And that's impressive. Thank you. I'd like to just say that we're not talking about 4.3 acres. We're talking about the Great Swamp, about 300 acres of conservation wetlands. Repeat that, 300 acres of conservation wetlands. You hold their future, that future, in your hands. When you mess that up, how do you clean it up? Look at their plans. They're not trying to stop the wetlands from being contaminated. They say that if anything happens, they're going to clean it up. How do you clean up 300 acres? Look at the recent mess with the sewage leak in Haverhill. How do you clean up 300 acres? The Hillman project has been approved by the EFSB. Our town manager, Mr. Kern, is proud of all the conditions that have been added, protecting our town. And now it's your turn. It's time for the Conservation Commission to deny the exemptions that Hillman is seeking. Protect our wetlands. Our bylaws exist for a reason. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oops. Thank you. Is this down enough? I'm Linda Martin at 25 Emerald Court. And last few days, I was able to review the peer review that was done by TEC and also the response from Langen. I noticed that the peer review gave 49 different suggested improvements. And I read them carefully and I thought, these look like minimal suggestions. And they're suggestions in order to meet a list of Mass DEP stormwater standards, other state standards, the town standards. So the TEC, the peer review, went standard by standard to see if everything was met. I found, though, in general, Langen's responses were targeted to just minimally reaching these standards. And in some cases, it also just denied doing the activity or simply said no to the suggestions made. And one of the things I was going to point out, which Dan, you already brought up, that I looked at number 17, where it says the given site grading constraints that it is not feasible to install trench drains, and the flow will go into Hillman Street. Well, there are lots of other businesses on Hillman Street, and if this is flowing into Hillman Street, I wonder if it might impact, as you said earlier, the enjoyment of their property if they have extra flow coming in. And then if you go to item 26 on the peer review, it says, Langen said, where the driveway will drain into the municipal sewer on Hillman Street. And I didn't have time to do a lot of study, but I thought in the past the town engineer told Hillman that they couldn't be draining into the municipal sewer. So my thoughts on this is that, as Tyler said, we're dealing with hazardous materials here. And that I would ask that the commission, when they look at these things, don't accept minimal requirements met, but rather take a more robust approach to this, because this is a serious accident that could happen.
30 seconds left.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess just to address that, like, you know, if you want to respond in any way, by all means, I do encourage you to not just meet the minimum requirements, but I also understand that, like, the law is written in such a way that they set minimum requirements, and if we wanted them to be somewhere else, we could, you know, buff that up and say, all right, now for the TSS removal below 80%, we could say, you know, we could say below 90%, we could say below 60%, we could change that, but that would just be the new minimum standard. So, like, from my perspective, like, again, if there's any ways that you are going above and beyond, please, you know, tell them, you know, broadcast that to us, but, like, I understand that, like, you know, the law requires minimum standards, and from what I've seen so far, we're at least working towards getting to that minimum standard. If you care to respond to me or...
Sure, yeah, I'll let Frank or Greg respond to kind of the minimum standard piece, because they're the experts on the Mass Stormwater Handbook and things like that. Just quick two clarifications. The sheet flow coming off of the driveways onto Hillman Street is a massive reduction from what is currently sheet flowing onto Hillman Street. Right now, the site has almost no stormwater management systems, and the stormwater system that they do have is tied directly into the city's municipal sewer system, which is not allowed currently, and that was why the city engineer asked us to change that. We had originally proposed a stormwater system that kind of continued that existing connection to the municipal sewer system, and that was told that we were not allowed to continue the current pattern there, and that's why we went and changed it to a lot of these underground detention basins and things like that. So yeah, two things on that. One, greatly reducing the amount of sheet flow onto Hillman Street from the current conditions. And then the second, the water that will be running into the municipal sewer from kind of that edge between the sound wall and Clinton Street and the edge on Hillman Street are just kind of flowing onto the street as they are currently, as allowed by the DEP handbook.
All right. Two things to respond to that. I'm not sure if you have it in your plans, but if not, could you provide some sort of update to them about what the current flow is into Hillman Street and what it would be reduced to? It's probably, I'm assuming it's in there.
It is. If you can give me a minute, I can.
The other thing, real quick, I hate to say this, but we are a town. We are not a city. I think some people will get upset if you claim that we are a city. Apologies. And stuff, but I appreciate you continuing on. Is there anybody else while he is looking for that? I just, before you continue, let's have this discussion, but just give me the signal when you have the information ready, and we can, before the next person gets up, we'll discuss it.
So, Jerry Corbin, 82 Emerald Court, and I have a bunch of procedural things I want to go over, and then I have a direct example. When we met on May 27th, your closing comment, so there's been a long list of questions that have been asked, and so when we closed on May 27th, Mr. Chairman, you said, so there's a long list of questions that have been asked, and I think need to be reviewed. We need to review them and get answers. I asked you also to review them and provide answers. My question, have you gotten any responses from Hillman for the questions that were raised on May 27th?
I have not.
Okay. Not surprising. Mr. Gove, I believe, I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Gove, correct.
Last time we met, which was, I think was what, 2-3 weeks ago, you asked Hillman to provide you a list of everything that may be a notice of intent. Have you received such a list?
I have not. I think they made that in that slide this evening.
So, having been following this very closely, this behavior of not getting responses, you can check with the Board of Health and you can check with others. It's endemic of how Hillman operates. They don't answer questions. They also sometimes don't provide full information. For example, I'm going to pick a very small point, snow removal. The snow removal for the notice of intent, and it also is reflected in the tech report, says that snow shall be shoveled and plowed across roads and parking areas as soon as practical. The text that appears in the HCA agreement that they have with the town, and which is actually a condition, I believe it's condition 93 from the EFSB, states that the property proposes to ensure snow is cleared from the property to prevent snow from unreasonably limiting or restricting access to emergency personnel to any battery pack. Look at that diagram up on the wall there. If there's a battery pack in the middle and no one's plowing those gravel roads, they are in violation of that ESB requirement and the town requirement, and that requirement is hidden from the notice of intent. No mention of it. They just said to plow roads in the parking area. That's another thing indicative of them half-truths. You can even see it in the EFSB proposal where they notified the EFSB that they had filed notice of intent on this project to get approval. And they had only submitted one notice of intent. We know that there's at least two. We don't know if there's more. Another item that they haven't mentioned and is the sound barriers. There's a 30-foot sound barrier along Clinton Street, a 24-foot sound barrier along Hillman, and then there's a 10-foot barrier in the sort of northeast corner. Those are all going to require significant supports. 30-foot wall usually has about a 20-foot thing. I don't know if that's going to affect wetlands, but for them not to expose that, to me, is a major concern. I would encourage you to make sure you're getting a lot of good information from a lot of people. I would like some comfort knowing that some of this information, if not all of it, is being supplied to TEC so that they also have more information to make the decisions, because the notice of intent alone is incomplete. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I did just want to respond to one of those comments. We were asked at the last hearing to provide a list of waivers, and we did that on that slide. We've got one waiver, and that's to restore the 25-foot no disturb zone.
And Mr. Chair, if I also could just get back to the question that was asked earlier about whether we meet standards just minimally or not, and how much water is going to Hillman Street. So first, to address Hillman Street, we're reducing, depending on which storm, looking at from 100% reduction to 98% reduction. So, and when we look at all of the design points on site, including to the wetlands, the standard is to not exceed peak rates. We're reducing peak rates, not just meeting them, but reducing, between, depending on which storm, 0 and 20%. So I would suggest that we are not just minimally meeting the standards, but with some of the standards greatly exceeding them.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Donna Robitel, 527 Shawshane Street. Mr. Chairman, I wasn't going to rise and talk about segmentation again, but you did say if somebody has information. So I just want to say the Wetland Protection Act clearly defines that segmentation is not allowed. So this could be like a legal loophole, but we're bringing evidence forward to say that this is one project. I do know for a fact that the EFSB is under the assumption that the Conservation Commission is viewing this as one project. The transmission line isn't just public utilities like we normally see them come in and actually have separate laws that they can use. And Hillman has said that they will be filing National Grid. And the chairman, you've said that you're considering putting a condition that they would have to have that filing before they could construct. I'm asking that the filings are connected so that, just like the peer review, they have half of everything. What's on our town engineer's desk? This is just a list of questions. I don't want to keep going in circles, but this is matter of fact. We are not, like, how do we go back and then look at the cumulative impacts? And it is a very big project. The transmission line itself during the hearings was a large part of the hearings. And they do not do that part. The town of Tewksbury does. Also, the 100 restrictions that were put on, that is giving the town 100% ability to vet this project. So the Conservation Commission has that jurisdiction already. And I know we're not here tonight to talk about the other parts. But technically what's occurred is the HCA does not contain the transmission line. It's in text, separate, it says separate utilities. So that's a separate thing that the restrictions are giving now our fire chief the ability for safety and all. But here, if we're not discussing or connecting the filings, what about the groundwater protection that you are constructing on traversed properties that are named in the EFSB file, National Grid, MBTA?
You have 30 seconds left.
And they're named as, this isn't just about an easement. They are constructing a transmission line, the battery site does not exist without the transmission line. The transmission line doesn't exist without the battery site. This has nothing to do with separate utilities. That's a text that was put in the HCR for the purpose of that. And the last thing I want to say, please, sir, is that, and I know I'm not going in order, but on June 10th, there was no meeting here for that, and I glanced at I'm not looking for things, but I shouldn't look at an agenda and see emergency certifications. Well, I mean, I seen it, I mean, not that I shouldn't. And it's for CSX, map 35, lot 3, behind 540 Main Street. That is the exact location, EFSB 25-08, map 11-1. That is the state mapping. The other one is go to the tax assessor's office, and those are the tax parcel IDs named in the EFSB. So all I'm saying is those emergency certifications, I'm asking the gentleman tonight through you, or maybe the peer review, I'm not sure where this belongs, stormwater, but if there's flooding flush up to if you look, if there's an overlap, to be fair, if they want to be fair, ask them to overlap the maps and give that, or you just do it yourself, and I'm telling you, this is the exact location. So there's flooding, so this math not only is half the math.
You've gone over time, I just ask that you finish.
Okay, it's half
your
the
thoughts.
math, it's also not taken into consideration. They're telling you what they have on Hillman, but they're not bringing it all together. It's very important to view this as one project or connect these filings. And if not, we should appeal it and ask the DEP to review, and they will review. And one last thing, please, I promise.
I need you to finish your
Please, let me
thoughts.
just say this is very important. The EFSB start in July 2026. The applicant knows this. Everybody knows that the rules change for the EFSB. Conservation is so important that their own rules state, starting now, they change the ruls. They change the rules to say you will go to conservation first and you will have a full MEPA review. So they never would have been, and I'm not saying anything about what they did. They did it legally.
I thank you for your comments.
It's a
but,
different room now. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just say again, I'm not claiming I've read the entire Wetlands Protection Act in the past. I did not do that this past week or anything. I did search through it. I cannot find anything about segmentation and what you seem to be, talking about of combining the legal requirement to, or our ability to enforce that they combine this into one project. Again, I will say, that's not to say that other parts of Mass General Law doesn't give us or a town the ability to do that, but I'm not seeing anything in the Wetlands Protection Act or our bylaw saying that. If you have that, like if whatever you're referencing, take a screenshot, print it out, send it to us, and we'll review it. But I have not been able to find any information to that effect. Yes, so that's all. Anybody else would like to speak? Yeah.
Dawn Sheehan, 100 B Star Ave. I was just curious, so I know TEC said it's a vernal pool, Hillman said it's not. There were also things that TEC took Hillman's word for it, that they didn't need groundwater mounding, but in our analysis from our stormwater expert, he says we absolutely need to have groundwater mounding studies done, and the estimated seasonal high groundwater could be off as much as 2 feet because of the way they calculate it. Will our stormwater expert stuff be submitted to TEC too?
I don't know if, we certainly have it. I don't know what if they've received those documents or any other, I don't know what TEC has reviewed or, received and stuff. Robert, if you have any additional information.
I don't know, but I would imagine it's been treated the same way we've treated any other project that's come before the commission. So typically those documents would not go to TEC, but I can check with the admin tomorrow and see what was done.
Yep. I just want to the way that the peer review works, my understanding is that they submitted an application. Part of our ability is that we can tell them, you need to get this peer reviewed. The town gets to choose who does the peer review, but the applicant is the one actually paying for it. I don't know if we can compel, if we can compel TC to review outside information that's not part of what they're submitting. That might have to be reviewed by somebody else, I don't want to put the town in the position where I'm, trying to give you something that I'm not actually able to provide you. I don't know if we can ask or compel TC to review your information. That might have to be through some other third party, unfortunately.
What would be what is the process for it? Because, I mean, I'm afraid it's just sitting in inboxes type thing, and this is a stormwater expert that also should be listened to, and I feel that TEC made a mistake. They took Hillman's word for something, and they're missing documentation, and so it creates some problems that professionally it should be shared. I mean, are you guys allowed to ask questions from TEC? It just seems very closed.
Yeah, I mean, I can't provide, I don't think I can provide a satisfactory answer at this time of what's required. The peer review is between the town via the Conservation Commission and the applicant. So anything else that we ask them to review, I don't think we can compel the applicant to do anything, to have TEC review that information. I don't know if there is, what you would do in that situation when you have information that you want a third party review. What you're describing is more like you're a fourth party, and then I don't know where it goes from there of how we would get that reviewed, or whose responsibility, if anybody's, is to have that reviewed.
So is there anyone that can get the answer, or are we just kind of afraid we're in limbo?
We can, there's an ongoing conversation about, town council, but I think right now, that would be, we typically would ask the conservation agent to, do some research, figure out, and that might lead to asking town council, what the requirements are and stuff like that. So I think that would be, at this point, I think we should certainly be looking into, is there any requirements or responsibilities of how we handle this situation when we have, the discussion between us and the applicant, and then somebody else providing, information or, a report of some sort, and who's required to review that documentation.
Right, especially because we're an intervening party in the case. So just one last question is, obviously this is a really high interest type project. You never have this many people here. Why can't we have documentation posted on the website? Why couldn't we have the peer review? I'm just curious. You have it, and we didn't know it was there. It got sent to Hillman, and it sat for 2 weeks. Why couldn't it have been posted? All of their documents legally have been posted. We've known everything. Why is Tewksbury withholding information from people who are clearly very concerned about their town?
So yeah, Robert, if you want to.
So we spoke yesterday on the phone about this exact thing.
Yeah.
And as was explained to you at that time on the phone, and I'll explain it again for everybody here in the room.
Could you just pull your microphone closer? Sorry, we really have a hard time hearing.
And I'll explain it for everybody in the room, just like I explained to you yesterday. We only post things that are submitted to us by the applicant for public viewing. We don't post for other projects, peer reviews when we get them. With this project, we've been treating it the same as we have all the other projects. If there's a document that you would like, you're more than welcome to reach out and request it, and we will provide it to you, like I did yesterday. When you asked for it, I sent them both to you. But that's kind of the town's policy on this, and we haven't wanted to treat this project any differently than any of the other projects we have.
This is a very, very different project, and people, we just want to protect our town. That's it. How hard would it be to post the peer review? That's all we're asking, is just to be part of this dialogue. We feel left out. We're very, very concerned. This is not every project. You don't have so many lawyers involved and people involved. Just please give us the documents so that we can continue to be informed. That's all we want.
Thank you. All right, so at this point, just real quick, at this point, somebody has gotten up twice, so if there's, I'm verging on ending the public, again, I want to choose my words very carefully. I'm not going to close the public meeting at this time, but I will be asking for a to continue this meeting to the next meeting on August 12th. If, you have the chance to speak tonight, if there's anybody else who would like to speak who has not spoken tonight, I ask that you line up at the podium so you can get your time in tonight. But I'm going to limit that, so if you're not, ready to go at this point, I'm not going to allow any more. I'm not seeing anybody rise, so I'm going to reset my clock. And if you want to introduce yourself for the record, and the floor.
Andy Rusnock, 1223 Emerald Court. This project is kind of in limbo. They don't have any power. So how does any of this take place? And I heard you say National Grid owns the property adjacent to it, and I'm guessing they would be providing power. Would that come across the wetlands, and do they have any special privileges?
A few things. So I don't know the legal ownership of what National Grid owns and what they have an easement on. I believe the Great Swamp is owned by Tewksbury, but National Grid has an easement, giving them rights to operate and do certain activities on that property. So
on wetlands?
Yes, like they are frequent, like they're replacing the big, electrical power, poles all the time. They've been going through a multi-year project they were like not dinky little wooden poles, but now they're like much bigger, more storm resistant metal poles that are a little bit taller and more robust than the previous ones. They come here quite frequently for projects of that sort. So just to give some context about, National Grid's involvement with this. But National Grid, I don't know who owns this property right now. It's a frequent thing, like anybody can apply for a permit before us. You do not have to actually own the property to apply for the permit. A lot of the times we see, property that's being redeveloped into a building, into 4 or 5 houses, and there's something in their purchase and sale agreement saying, I'm only going to sell you this property when you get it fully when you've gone through all of the local permitting processes. So it's like, once we make our decision, that's when they can actually go through it. It's no different than any other project we've seen. That happens quite frequently where somebody's, applying for a permit on somebody else's, somebody else's behalf, or on property that they don't actually own at that moment.
This project isn't really a project till it receives power, but is there any privileges granted to National Grid to provide that power? If they're spending X amount of dollars, does that influence you to say, oh, we have to let them through the wetlands because they've spent X? This is a non-existing project without power.
So the project, obviously hasn't been constructed yet. We're trying to, come to an agreement to permit the project.
But if you prohibit power going to them, they don't even want it. They can't produce power without a plug.
So if we, if we make a decision on this project and they go forth and start building a battery storage facility, and for whatever reason, National Grid decides not to allow them to connect to the grid, that's out of our control. I can't say anything about that. That's a big hypothetical, and they might have some other agreement in their legal documents about all of this stuff, saying that as soon as we get it permitted, they can do certain things. At the same time, National Grid, if they apply or somebody on their behalf applies to connect these, this battery storage site to the greater grid, they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to do stuff on their property that, as long as it conforms to the laws, like, we'd have to review that and, make a decision based on what they actually submit to us. So, like, at this point, I guess technically speaking, there is a chance that National Grid could say, actually, even though you've built this entire thing, we don't want to do anything with it at this time. I think that's pretty low. Like, I would be very, very surprised. That's a very big hypothetical. But, like, technically speaking, I guess that could happen.
But they would still have to comply with your wetland.
Yes, any project within the wetlands, and especially for National Grid, where, like, a lot of their stuff is, it's not just in the 100-foot buffer zone, it's directly in the wetlands. And that typically involves a lot more, like, they put down these big mats to move the, equipment over, so they're, they kind of do some small damage to the wetlands, but then they restore it afterwards. And the mats are to prevent greater damage from happening and stuff like that. So that would all be permitted. That, I don't see any reason why we would not, hear that and have that be in our jurisdiction to, confirm that they are operating under all state, local, and municipal laws.
Would it be fair to assume that you will not start construction till you have an agreement with National Grid?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's something we've discussed in a previous meeting. I believe you've agreed that, until some sort of NOI is submitted on that, they wouldn't construct it. So that, if we if we have a vote on this, one of the special conditions would say something essentially to that effect, that no further things can, no construction can happen until this other thing happens. So that's, to me, that's already part of this, any potential order of conditions that we would have. It's, discussed at this meeting, we've agreed to it, it will be on the record and stuff.
Thank you.
All right. So I think that's going to be it for the public hearing at this.
Close the public.
We're not, just to reiterate, I am not closing the public hearing. It's still technically open. I will be taking, entertain a motion to continue this hearing until August 12th, unless you would like to. All right, so on August 12th, we'll be back here. You'll get another chance to speak. Could I have a motion to continue this hearing until?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Motion.
Thank you very much.
Motion.
Can we, I think we have, do you have an admin report that you want?
I just want to talk about the policy, the town council policy.
Yeah, all right, so let's let them flare out.
Do you want to recess for like 5 minutes?
Yeah, you want to do that?
Just take a quick vote.
Can I have a vote, can I have a motion to recess for 5 minutes?
Yeah, let's.
Do you make, can you second the motion to recess for 5 minutes?
I second the motion to recess for 5 minutes.
And could I have all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, thank you.
Putting together a town council policy for boards and committees as well as staff. It's just to formalize what we believe is already an existing practice. I will forward the policy to all of you. It's not in-depth, but all we're looking for is that if a question came up at the commission meeting or a question came up from a commission member, you would reach out to the agent or with that question, or you would reach out to the town manager with that question. They would take it to town council, and then they'd let you know what the answer is. It's just our way of trying to centralize, so that way town council is not being pulled in so many different directions. More so, we don't want town council doing double the work. If we already answered a question for you folks, and then say planning has a question, we'd like to just take the answer already given and provide it to them.
I'm skeptical, Robert. I believe this is part of the whole select board mess. You're trying to neaten things up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll, without making too many comments about the select board, I'll say that, like, I think this, commission has frequently asked the conservation agents going, oh, can you ask town council about this and this and this? And then subsequent conversations have, I've realized not all the time are they actually going directly to town council. They're typically doing research, with other, there's their messaging board, I'm sure, like, with other towns, and they can figure it out on them, by themselves. And they provide us with reasonable information that, town council would almost certainly, agree with.
But I will say, we have been always tasked, whether it was Joe,
Abby, Stefania.
We've always said, could you look into this?
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're driving here.
Correct. And it even happened tonight when one of the residents came up with a question.
Yeah.
And you asked me to reach out to town council. So it's not a big change. It's just, again, just trying to form. Yeah, just trying to form.
I mean, yeah, I'll echo what planning board said, is that, like, the way it's currently written, I haven't seen the updated stuff, but, like, there's a reasonable way of interpreting it that would be much more restrictive, and there's another way that's, like, just the formal process and stuff. I would definitely be against the restrictive interpretation, and I think it could probably be updated in such a way that that ambiguity is removed and stuff. But I mean, like, it's very important that we have access to town council, because, like, there might be times in which, like, these three people want to interpret something one way and you two want to interpret it another way, and it's like, do we just overrule each other and get mad, or can we just go to town council and say, you decide, you be the deciding vote in this thing, and have it, decided that way. So that's just, I think it's good that we have a more formalized process, but I get your point, Steve.
And I see your point as well. I'll send the policy to all of you, and then just feel free to reply to me with any comments you have.
That's easy stuff.
All right. At this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye as well.